Narayanam namaskritam naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato jayodhyarat nishtapriyashu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttamashoki bhaktir bhavati naistiki nigamakapadurugaritam param shukam mitadravi samitam pivata bhagatam rashamariyam mahorahora si bhavi babukaham anartha pashamam shakshad bhaktiyagam logasajanato chakra satpada samidam Atmanamastu Munayana Granti Korvanti Haitokam Itam Bhuttagana Hari Krishna Swadamapagate Dhammagana Karuna Stadi Shamasha Paranako Duno Didaham Tamapia Dabhishuta Bishutam Vibhusam Apiana Vidam Vidupsaram Prakyahidoho Maharadam Sanklesha Nirvana Musani Nanyatam Chakva Saranam Charanam Bhajam Have Bhajana Pakpatopada Yatrakava Buddha Govartatam Bhajatam Shadharmadaham Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhikanta Namostute Jayatam Surito Pango Mama Minir Matergati Matsavashuparam Bojo Radhanamana Mohanu Seeman Rasa Rasarambi Vamsi Vada Karsan Veneration Nirgapati Gopanata Sriyasanam Divyadvandaranya Kapadrumada Srimad Radnagara Shima Shanishto Sri Sirada Shiva Govinda Prestadabi Seva Manusmarami Om Agyanatimaranda Shanganagana Sadagaya Chaksurun Miritam Yana Tashmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Yana Bhutare Samrupakaramayam Darati Swaparandikam Vandeham Siguru Sirta Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Shagadatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishikan Vitam Shah Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamane Namaste Sarasati Devi Gauravani Pachadine Nirvishes Sanyori Praskata Desara Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Transcendental Tuesday, all right. Let's get it on, as Raghunath says in Wisdom of the Sages. You agree with that, Rob? Shall we get it
let's
on?
Get it on. Let's get it on, Prabhuji. It's a beautiful, brisk morning, and I'm enjoying being outside and eagerly awaiting to hear your words of wisdom.
Actually, you don't want to hear my words of wisdom, but we're going to give you Vyasadev's words of wisdom. Would that be okay?
As long as it's being channeled through you.
Rakesh, thanks for joining us. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Brent hasn't missed a day in a long time, nor has he missed a Sunday feast. Govinda Dev, all glories to the assembled devotees. William from Los Angeles. All kinds of things are going on in California, but that's pretty much always the case. Let's revisit now this amazing verse, 21st verse, 5th chapter, 1st canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This will be part 2 for us. Tam atmanatmanam avehi amogadrik parasha pumsham paramatmana kalam ajam prajatam jagata shivayatam mahanubhava parajo diganjatam. Your goodness, Vyasadev, has perfect vision. You yourself can know the Supreme Personality of Godhead because you are present as the plenary portion of the Lord. Although you are birthless, you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of all people. Please therefore describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, more vividly. One thing we have to consider when we're weighing different influences and factors in our life is how much realization, how much character, how much purity someone who's delivering to us a body of knowledge has. And also, what are they getting out of it? Are they doing it for some self-motivation, self-acclaim, self-aggrandizement? Because wherever we find a highly elevated soul who's engaged in welfare work for people in general with nothing personal to gain, like Vyasadev, who's being addressed in this verse, we need to have an attitude of gratitude. That sounds like a cliche, attitude of gratitude. But I heard a interview with Tukaram on Wisdom of the Sages the other day, and he said, and I pretty much agree with this, there's two types of people in the world. There's people who express gratitude, and there's people who feel entitled, take everything for granted, take it as their lot, their due. You need to consider not only the quality and the caliber of what's delivered, but whether the person who's delivering has any personal agenda. And if they don't, if you determine that they're acting wholly and solely not for their benefit, but for your benefit, then of course, if you're a human being and not an animal, if you're on the side of gratitude and not on the side of being a spoiled brat, of course you're going to take it. If someone like Vyasadev delivers you Krishna consciousness in hundreds and hundreds of volumes, sums it up in the 20,000 verse Srimad Bhagavatam, and you don't take it, you don't at least get your feet wet, you don't at least dabble, you don't at least investigate the bona fides, the expansiveness, the breadth of it, I don't know what to say. And you know, I address crowds every Sunday for the last 50 years in Australia, Berkeley, Los Angeles, here in Utah. Every Sunday we have our open houses, our Sunday love feast. Not only do you give beautiful kirtan, but we give the philosophy of Vyasadev, who gave it to us without asking anything in return, only for our benefit. We try to pass it on. We may not be pure. I may not be pure. I know I'm not pure. But Vyasadeva is pure. And I'm not, like Rob said, he wants to hear words from my lips. He wants to hear my wisdom. Well, I don't have any wisdom. But I'm passing on the wisdom of Vyasadeva, who has all wisdom, everything material and spiritual, and who went to the trouble of penning, speaking the Vedic literatures to Ganesh, who transcribed them, so that we will have light in this dark age of Kali. So in the face of that sacrifice that he made for us, I can't not accept it in my own life. I can't not incorporate it in my life, nor can I pass on delivering it to other people. I have to do as he did. And that's just obligatory. That's just a no-brainer. And yet, you know, we have people who pass. And again, everybody has their own time. You're not going to resonate with Krishna consciousness until it's time, until the Lord within your heart says, now. So different people's times are different, but the basic fact of the matter is that you cannot be ungrateful. You cannot take this level of knowledge distributed by this plenary incarnation of God indifferently or lightly. Prabhupada said, you can ignore an ordinary man, you can ignore a celebrity, you can ignore so many people who are elevated in the eyes of society, and there's no downside, there's no negative consequences. But you cannot ignore the Supreme Personality of Godhead without being thoroughly condemned. Here is Vyasadeva, who is a plenary incarnation, the literary incarnation of life, and he's delivering volume, he's delivering quantity, quality. He's delivering all the Vedas, hundreds and thousands of books on every subject matter. And then, and then he's summarizing it all. He's giving the ripened fruit of all these literary endeavors in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. And if someone fails to interest themselves in this, I don't know what could help them. Honestly, I don't know what else has the weight, the gravity, the purity. You look at this and then you continue search, you go on to something else. Well, what else is it with the stature, the antiquity, the grandeur, the purity, and the completeness of the works of Vyasadeva? He's the beginning, the middle, and the end as far as literary output is concerned. And yesterday we investigated his influence in the Vedic culture. in practically the last verse of the Bhagavad Gita, the narrator of the Bhagavad Gita, Sanjaya, says, Prashara Chutaram, Etad Goyam Aham Param, Yogam Yogeshwara Krishna, Shaksha Katayaram Shubham. Says, I've heard this wonderful conversation between Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Arjuna. Not directly. Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra were in Delhi. Krishna was speaking to Arjuna in Kurukshetra, which is 100 or so kilometers north of Delhi. They weren't physically present when the conversation took place. But Sanjaya was able to intimate the words, like television. How and why? Because Prashadam Shrutavan. Shrutavan means I was able to hear this conversation. I was able to envision this conversation and narrate it to the blind King Dhritarashtra. Prashadam, by the mercy of my spiritual master, Vyasadev. This is how we access transcendental knowledge. Don't think that you're like Arjuna, that Krishna's going to descend from earth and be your chauffeur and speak to you directly. None of us are on the level of Arjuna. And even if we were on the level of Arjuna, Arjuna is the best friend of Krishna. Bahuni me bhyati tani janmani tani ham vedasam nitam veda. Krishna tells Arjuna, both you and I have taken many births. I can remember all of them, but you cannot subdue the enemies. Subdue the enemies means Arjuna is the greatest among human beings. He's not of Nara and Narayan, he's Nara. He's the human counterpart of the divine duo, Nara and Narayan. Narayan is Krishna, divine, immortal, imperishable, unfallible. And Arjuna is Nara. He's the Nara part of that dynamic duo. He's the subduer of the enemies, the greatest martial arts champion in the world at that time. And yet, however great Arjuna is, he cannot remember all of his past births. He's qualitatively one with Krishna, but quantitatively, we become covered by ignorance and illusions. Krishna never does. So Arjuna is the personal friend of Krishna. They sit on the same bed together. They do everything together. They eat together. Krishna drives the chariot of Arjuna in his time of peril. Krishna is imparting idam tu te gatamam pravaksham jnanam viganam yajgan, the most confidential of knowledge to his most confidential friend, Arjuna. So don't expect to get the knowledge directly, shakshat, from Krishna. And here's the point. Arjuna is Krishna loves Arjuna. Krishna loves Arjuna like a mother cat loves a kitten. And yet, what is Arjuna going through in order to receive the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita? It would crush us. It would pulverize us. Imagine you're standing there looking at your teachers, your cousins, your brothers, and you're obliged to kill them. We would fall apart. We would get permanently PSTD. We couldn't handle it. We'd explode. Arjuna received the Bhagavad Gita not only because he was a personal friend of Krishna, but because he could take it. Of course, initially, he couldn't take it. Kuru nahatma hi mahana bhavam sreyam bhoksham hadbatma kamam sugunyam munjira. He says, I see my guru, my teachers, my cousins, my relatives arrayed opposite me on this battlefield, prepared to kill me. And nahi prabhashami mamapanu chokam ashosham avyapabhumosha badam rajam suram marichari padnam. He says, I can't control my grief, my paralysis, my debilitation. His bow drops, his shoulders sunk, tears come to his eyes. So even this greatest of all subduer of the enemies is on the verge of a panic attack and is on the verge of a breakdown. Krishna brought him to that point. Why does Krishna do that? Someone said, well, why should I become a devotee if Krishna's going to put me underneath the grinding stone? Krishna is showing off Arjuna. He's showing off. He's saying, look, everybody, my devotees are so grounded, they're so deep and so full of peace and joy that nothing shakes them. Nothing budges their faith. Vritasura was a devotee. He was Chitraketu in his past life, and due to unfortunate, unfair circumstances, he got cursed to become a demon. And yet, even in that demon's body, he said, Narayana Paraka Parashave Nakutash Shrirukbur Api Tu Yajadarshana. He says, I don't care. As long as I'm engaged in the service of Krishna, Krishna can send me to hell. It's not going to change my faith, my staunch, strong faith in him. He can send me to hell. And Krishna sometimes will put his devotees in a hellish situation because he knows they can take it. Krishna is in the heart of the devotee, so he's not going to put a devotee into a situation that Krishna himself is not going to equip and empower that devotee to shine. To shine. Ananyastintayantямam yajana tesham nitya yoga sema vahamyaham. I preserve what they have and I carry what they lack. So even Arjuna, subduer of enemies, number one champion in the world at that time, Krishna pushed him to the edge, put him in a situation in which even he was almost cracking. But because he was Krishna conscious, Draupadi, when she had no other resort, she raised her hand and said, Govinda, Govinda. The inhabitants of Vrindavan, when Indra was thundering, invoking the clouds, which are only invoked at the destruction of the universe, they said, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. That's what devotees do. That's what devotees do. They cry out in their extremities, in their peril. They cry out for Krishna. Krishna limelights them. He spotlights. He shows them off. He said, look, these are my devotees. These are the strongest, most versatile, powerful, faith-filled people in the world. And I'm not trying to make their life miserable. I don't get any pleasure out of seeing them in dire circumstances, but they get pleasure out of taking it to the limits. They get pleasure out of showing me how much their faith can empower them to sustain. So don't think that you're going to be in the position of Arjuna with Krishna standing 18 inches in front of you, speaking to you face to face. Even if you were, we're not on the level of Arjuna. Aside from his friendship to Krishna, we're not on his level. So there's two very good reasons why we can never aspire, or we should never aspire to get information directly from Krishna face to face. One is, we don't incarnate with him as his most intimate friend lifetime after lifetime. And another is, we couldn't take it if we were put in the same situation as Arjuna. So the Vyasadev, Sanjaya, showed. Now, we can't have the face-to-face instruction from Krishna, the physicality of Krishna, but we can have the direct experience. This is called shakshat. It is a direct experience. There's nothing indirect about hearing from Krishna's bona fide representative. That is the direct method for accessing Krishna consciousness through his devotee. The devotee is every bit as empowered as the Lord himself. And so when Sanjaya says, by the mercy of Vyasadev, etad guyam, obviously the knowledge that Krishna gives to his intimate friend under these dire circumstances is very, very guyam. It is the most confidential knowledge. Raja Vijaya Raja Guyam Povutamidam Utamam. It is the purest, and it is above the darkness of matter. It's totally transcendental. Pratyakshavaram Susukam Item, and is joyfully given and is joyfully received. Now, this confidential knowledge which Krishna is giving to Arjuna can be directly received. The word shakshat is used in the relationship of Krishna and Arjuna. It's also used in the relationship of the bona fide disciple to the bona fide spiritual master. Shakshadari twainashamastri. We sing every morning. We get the shaksha, we get the direct experience of Krishna, the words, the instructions, the empowerment of Krishna through the disciplic succession. And just as Arjuna got what he needed. Yoga Seva Vahamiham. From within his heart, Krishna gave Arjuna what he needed to survive and triumph through the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Similarly, whatever you're facing now, or whatever you're going to face, or getting over whatever you've just recently faced, that empowerment is there every bit as much for you as it was for Arjuna. But we receive it in a slightly different way. We receive it through the words of the spiritual master. Yasha prasada, Bhagavad prasada, Yasha prasada nagati patoti, dayam stubam stasya, yasasiram, bande guru si charanara vinda. Everything that we get by the mercy of the spiritual master. And this is what Sanjaya verifies. And this is how Sanjaya shows us how to make our lives successful. We don't access Krishna directly, but through the medium of the spiritual master. And who is the spiritual master? How do we know he's a spiritual master? How do we know he's a Sadguru? He's transparent. And whatever Krishna has spoken to Arjuna, he also speaks directly. Even in the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, right in the very beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna how this knowledge is passed down, how you receive it in a bona fide, empowering way. You can't say, well, Krishna was here 5,000 years ago, so I guess we're out of luck. Krishna doesn't let you off the hook that easily. Up until the time of Arjuna, Evam parampara praptami mamaja sakarinamada yoga nashta parandava. The knowledge was alive and well, being passed down from generation to generation of saintly kings through the chain of disciplic succession. Krishna himself verifies that the method of receiving transcendental knowledge is through the chain of disciplic succession. So if you feel that you're too special, if you feel that you're exempt, if you feel that you have a waiver from this process, if you feel that you should be treated specially, exclusively like Arjuna, then this is not for you. This session, this whole process, it's not for you. We're talking about people of faith, people of gratitude, people who are genuine seekers and not hypocrites and not posers. And we're going to talk about hypocrites and posers here in this session, or at least by tomorrow as well. We've got a great example from the scriptures of a hypocrite and a poser. But if you're a simple person of sincerity, the mystery of the disciplic succession is that when the spiritual master is bona fide, then one can hear the Bhagavad Gita directly, just in the same way as Arjuna heard it as well. Now I have a question for you guys out there on Facebook, or even for you, Rob, if you're still here. In the Chaitanya Charita, with regard to the pastimes of Krishna and Arjuna, and all the great devotees like Prithu and Prahlad and Dhruva Maharaj, Vyasadev was the empowered literary incarnation, and he chronicled all the pastimes of Krishna and Krishna's devotees throughout the ages. Now, Krishna also came, Krishna Bhanati Sakashanam Sangha, Yaga Sankatanam Yajanti. He came, just as Krishna came in the previous age, the Dwapara Yuga, in the black color, Krishna also comes in the current Kali Yuga age, in a golden color, in the mood of Radharani. Vairagavida Nija Shakshara Shikshartam Eka Parusha Paranam. He comes in a golden color, in the mood of Radharani, Shikshartam Eka Parusha Paranam. The original Supreme Personality of Godhead comes to Shikshaksham to teach us how to love Krishna. Lord Chaitanya's process, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Now, the authorized, most well-known biography of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as you know, is done by Krishnadas Kaviraj. Prabhupada translated this medieval devotional classic. He considered it a priority. He said Bhagavad Gita is the BA, Srimad Bhagavatam is the graduate course, and Chaitanya Charita is the postgraduate course. Now, if you know the answer to this question, put it in the comment section here. We've got Vipin Bhadaraj doing Jai Mata repeatedly. So let's get some factual knowledge in there. If you know who is the Vyasadev of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, write it in the comment section. If I can see it. We're jammed up here with Jai Mata, Jai Mata, Jai Mata. If you know who is the Vyasadev of Lord Chaitanya, who wrote down all the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, the incarnation, the expansion of Vyasadev, write it down. And did you know that Krishnadas Kaviraj, of course, you did know this, that he took permission from the modern Gopal deity there in Vrindavan. He took permission from the Vaishnavas. He did not consider on his own he was capable of undertaking the task of being the biography of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his later pastimes. He was very aged. He says, Durgame Pati Mandesha Skalapate Shrakripayana Santu Santu Avalambanam. He says, his memory is bad, his eyesight is shot, his hands tremble. So without the mercy of the Vaishnavas, without their permission, without the permission of modern Gopal deity, and without a third person's permission, I will not be able to write the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And this third person, this third entity from whom he sought permission, was the incarnation of Vyasadev, as far as Chaitanya Charitamrita is concerned. I'm scrolling through here, looking for the answer. Jai Mata is not the answer, no. Scrolling through here. Anybody? Anybody? Not seeing it yet. Do you know who it is, Rob? Okay, the Vyasadev of the Chaitanya Treatise, Vrindavan Das Thakur. So apparently you didn't know that. Now you know it. Vrindavan Das Thakur. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, right in the beginning, 8th chapter, 82nd verse. Krishnadas Kaviraj, Vrindavana Dasare Padmapata Karyadina. I present myself as a servant of Vrindavan Das Thakur, Pada Padram, at his lotus feet. Tanya Agyalana Likhi Yayate Kana. Says, I took permission from the deities, I took permission from the devotees, and finally I took permission from the Vyasadev of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, Vrindavan Das Thakur. And upon receiving his permission, then and only then, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, I embarked upon the great task, epic task of writing the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But obviously without the blessings of Vyasadev, no one would presume to present the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the world. It says, the fallen and forgotten souls, we wouldn't have come here in the first place had we not wanted to diverge, had we not wanted our interests to be different from the interests of the Lord. We left the shelter and protection and provision of our Creator and Father to pursue our own self-interest. Though we are parts of the Lord, constitutionally, eternally, finger is part of the hand. It's constitutionally part of the hand. Constitutionally, a finger is meant to serve the whole, but some or other, like a finger which has become detached from the body, we've detached ourselves from the shelter and protection, direction and guidance in favor of the Supreme Personality of God in order to go it on our own. We've been doing this for who knows how many incarnations, for who knows how many lifetimes, and who knows how many species of life, and who knows how many different planets, lower, middle, and higher planets. As spirit souls, it's quite possible that we came into this creation during a prior manifestation. This current creation is about 155 trillion years since the manifestation of it. It's about halfway through the life of Lord Brahma, who lives for 311 trillion years. And our entrance in our history in this material world could have dated from a prior manifestation, or even a prior manifestation before that. At some point in this material world, Adanta Gobir Vishitam Tamasham, come to the realization we're hauled up short. with the realization that we're not getting anywhere. All we're doing is chewing the chewed over and over and over again, eating, drinking, mating, defending, sometimes as a demigod, sometimes as a hog. In fact, even the king of demigods, Lord Indra, one time he was cursed because of his lasciviousness to take birth as a hog. He was born as a hog, and he got the taste buds of a hog, he got the senses of a hog, he got the proclivities and inclinations of a hog, along with that body. He got a hog wife, and he had little hog babies. When the time of the curse had expired, the representatives from the heavenly planets came to recall Indra. He didn't want to go. He said, how can I go and resume my post as the king of the heavenly planets? I have responsibilities here. I have my sow. I have my pig. This is the influence of Maya. First, we see our interests as diverging from the interests of Krishna, and that's called falling, and then covering. These are the two phases of our having detached ourselves from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The first is falling, when we some or other saw a divergence of interests, we some or other saw duality. And the second is covering, that once we got to this material world, which is a far inferior place to this transcendental kingdom where everything is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. This is a place permeated by matter, where birth, disease, old age, death, hunger, thirst, lamentation, unfairness, atrocities, misery, pain, suffering, disease, pandemic, all these things are hallmarks of this inferior external energy of the Lord, and yet some or other we console ourselves with it. This is called the covering influence. Indra says, I've got my sow, I've got my little piglets, I've got my responsibilities. I cannot go back to my throne in the heavenly planet. So in all of that comes the spiritual master. Brahmanda Brahmite Konu Bhagavan Jiva Guru Krishna Pashade Pai Bhakti Ladabi. After wandering in many species of life through many universes, when one finally begins to inquire as to whether there's something more than this revolution of birth, death, disease, and old age, endless, repetitive, stale pursuit of eating, sleeping, mating, defending, at that point, when one becomes sincere after searching out the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti. The mercy of God manifests itself. Again, God is not going to appear directly to a soul who has fallen and who has been covered for perhaps millions and millions of incarnations. We have far removed ourselves from the personal presence of God. And even in the spiritual world, when we get back there, we're not going to so much be in the personal presence of God as in the personal presence of his devotees. Lord Chaitanya never made a prayer, let me go and directly serve Krishna. He said, Dasana, Dasana, Naham Vipro, Nachana Matir, Nachagriya Matir, Napina Vaishnava, Napina Shudra. Who am I? I am only a servant of the 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 devotees of Krishna. Vritasura, he also says, Aharam Hare Tava Padai Kamura Dasana Daso Bapatashmura Manash Medatir Paderganam Sam Granita Bakarma Karotika. Having been cursed by Parvati, Chitrakuta fell, not by his own fault, but because of a misunderstanding. Parvati cursed him, so he fell, but he did not become covered. By the grace of the Lord and because of the sincerity in his heart, he remembered his past life as Chitraketu, and even as a demon, even doing what he was supposed to do, creating havoc in the universe, he still hankered after going back. Dasana Dasha Babatasha Manash Medatupada says he prayed, Lord, as soon as possible. I know you've got me here for a reason. I know you covered me for instructive purposes. I know, in a sense, you're showing me off. That even if you send a devotee to hell, even if you make him take birth as an asura, you're showing the world that the consciousness remains, the cheerfulness remains, the joy remains, the hankering for release and liberation remains. And here I am, the poster boy for all of that. But still, Lord, whenever it's your desire, Aham Hare Tava Pare. Please take me back as an atom at your lotus feet. Dasanu Dasa. Never prays to directly serve the Lord, but he says, Dasanu Daso. Let me again take such a birth that I can be a servant of the servant of the servant. And by serving the servants of the servant, what is the result? Manash Maratesha Paderganam Stam Grinita Bakama Karotia. Destroy all of those sinful reactions, all the residue of having taken birth in a demonic family, and again be able to experience, submerge oneself in the full-fledged recollection, the memory of your divine personality. So in all of that illusion, confusion, the Lord appears before the inquisitive devotee as the spiritual master. Now, the spiritual master is Sadguru. Why and how is he Sadguru? Because he represents the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He speaks only what the Supreme Personality of Godhead speaks, and he serves the servants of the servants of the servants of the Supreme Personality. This is a Sadguru. There are two worshipable entities. There is the worshipable Bhagavan, and then there is the worshipper. The worshipable Bhagavan is Krishna, who's Aishwarya, Shamagrasha, Viryasha, Yasa, Jnana, Vairagya, Sanam, Bhagavan. Wealth, strength, beauty, knowledge, fame, and renunciation. Krishna is full in all these six opulences. That's what Bhagavan means. Bhag is opulence and Van means possessor. So God is Bhagavan, who is defined as the possessor of all wealth, all strength, all beauty, all knowledge, all fame, and all humility. He is worshipable as the repository, as the source and origin of all good qualities. He is the most perfect human being. Narayanam namaskritam naram cheva devam saraswatam tato jayo idire. So he is meant to be served. Okay. Now, there's another entity who is worshipable, but he is not worshipable as Bhagavan. He is worshipable as a servant of Bhagavan. This is called Sevaka Bhagavan. Krishna is Sevya Bhagavan, who is to be worshipped and served because he's the supreme. The Guru is Sevaka Bhagavan, who is to be worshipped and served because he is the transparent Vayamita. We access God exclusively through his pure devotees. So God is the worshipable God, and the spiritual master is the worshipper God. And the mechanism by which the Lord enlightens the whole world is through the spiritual master. Shaksharari Tvaina Shamasta Shashti. The representative of the Lord carries the Lord. In Chaitanya Charita, Raghunath Das Goswami tried several times to meet Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He would always just miss him. He would get there and say, I heard Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in this town. He said, yeah, he was, but he left a few days ago. And then he would follow the next town. He said, we just miss him, just miss him, just miss him, just miss him. Finally, Raghunath came to Lord Nityananda, and Lord Nityananda said, you thief, you're a dirty, rotten, low-down thief. Raghunath, why are you calling me a thief? He says, because you're trying to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without going through me. Nityananda is the spiritual master. He's the representative of the Lord in the form of the spiritual master. So Nityananda said, you do not get God separately, independently. Said to Raghunath, you cannot access, you cannot get the association of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without asking my permission. I am the bodyguard. I am the gatekeeper. And I keep out all those who are not in the mood of being a servant of a servant of a servant of a servant. But the beautiful thing about Lord Nityananda is, while he's meant to keep people away from Krishna, he's also the person who trains us how to serve the servants of the servants of the servants of the servant of Krishna. So he keeps us from getting direct access to Krishna, but he qualifies us to access Krishna through Krishna's bona fide sevakas, through Krishna's bona fide servants. Those servants do not belong to a particular gender, a particular social caste or strata, particular nation, a particular ethnicity. They don't have a particular level of education. They don't have a particular erudition. It is Jare Deke Tare Kaha Krishna Upadesh. Who is qualified to give you Krishna, to represent Krishna? Someone who comes in the disciplic succession. Doesn't matter. Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Sudakeni Ye Krishna Tattva Deti Say Guru Haya. Doesn't matter whether they know mantras or tantras, or whether they're very erudite or good looking, or what kind of a birth of a family, or what kind of a gender. But what you need to look for, do they know the science of Krishna? Have they learned the science of Krishna by studying and serving a representative of Krishna? Tadvidi Panipanena. Prescription for understanding the Bhagavad Gita is given right there, 4th chapter, 31st verse, by Lord Krishna himself. Krishna says, if you want to know me, you can't do it directly. You're not an Arjuna. But you can know me. Tadvidi Panipanena. By approaching a spiritual master, inquiring from him simply, and rendering service to him. The self-realized self can impart knowledge to you because he has seen the truth. So who is a Sadguru? A Sadguru is one who has accepted Krishna as the Guru and taken the knowledge that Krishna imparted to Arjuna as it descends to us through the bona fide Guru Param system, the chain of disciplic succession. This is how we access Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. In conclusion, we say that one cannot become a guru if one does not know what the personality of Godhead Krishna or his incarnation wants. The mission of the guru, there may be many gurus, but the mission of the guru is always one, to spread Krishna consciousness, undiluted, unmotivated, uninterrupted, loving devotional service to Krishna all over the world. Anya Vilasitya Yam Jnana Karmana Anukunam Krishna Bhakti Uttama. The definition, the symptoms of a bona fide Sadguru are that he himself serves Krishna without holding anything back, and he serves and tries to enlighten humanity with all of his heart for their benefit as his own service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead without wanting any remuneration, without expecting any entitlement or any special consideration. Narayana Parashave Nakuta Shargabhavaya. As Krishna, he says, if I am in heaven, idyllic circumstances, but there's no service for me, that's hell. On the other hand, if I'm in hell, but you give me the boon of serving the servants of your servant, that is all I ask in life. That is heaven. Om Tat Sat. Is that okay for Transcendental Tuesday? I think that was a pretty transcendental message today. And it wasn't Charu's message. It was the message of Vyasadev as we received it through Sanjaya in the Bhagavad Gita, through Sukadeva Goswami in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and through Vrindavan Das Thakur and Krishnadas Kaviraj in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And this is such a relishable and such a pivotal topic that we're going to revisit it tomorrow on Wisdom Wednesday. We have Motivational Monday, Transcendental Tuesday, and Wisdom Wednesday. So the topic of attaching yourself as a servant at the lotus feet of a bona fide guru is both motivational, it's also transcendental, and it's also the wisest choice that you can ever make. So our discussion of this verse is going to extend over all three of those days because it applies to each and every one of those adjectives. And I hope you agree, and I hope you felt that your time on board here today was well spent. So let's see. Thank you, Rakesh. TT Ki Jai. Transcendental Tuesday Ki Jai. Good morning, Bear. You're becoming a regular, aren't you? Vipin, I don't know about all the Jai mantras, but I like Jai Jagannath and I like Jai Ram. Just kind of throw everyone in there. That's good. Don't miss anything. Of course, Krishna is the root of the tree, watering which every other purpose becomes served. William, multiple times here. Bhagavad Gita says the process of knowledge is sometimes misunderstood by less intelligent men as being the interaction of the field of activity, but actually this is the real process of knowledge. Deep. Bhakti Gary, every day you're on board. Thank you. All glories to Prabhupada. Krishna will test us, challenge us through the fire. We get it. Yes. The dynamic duo. Wow, William. Very prolific here. Good morning, Govinda Dev, Brent again. Rakesh, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back together for more on this wonderful topic 23 hours from now, Wisdom Wednesday. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Allow a moment, because there's a whole explosion of hearts and thumbs up. I suspect William's behind that. He actually got banned one time, Facebook, from having got carried away with the, but they let him back after 24 hours. So he told me once, he said, I'm willing to be banned in the service of glorifying the Lord and the Lord's words. So thank you all. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.